where we drink, smoke, and bullshit about the life of a historic criminal. Now we're talking outlaws and gangsters. We're not going to cover too many serial killers. That's just a little bit dark for me, and this ain't no true crime podcast. Honestly, you can't call this a history podcast because I'm no historian. I'm just a history fan that does some research and bullshits about it with his friends. So speaking of my friends, let me introduce you to my co-host. So first with us today, we got DC.
What up, dude? Happy to be back.
And also with us today, we got Jbone.
Hey everybody, how's it going?
And then also coming off a big hiatus, we got back in the studio, Bugs.
Yo! Hello.
As you can see, a little rusty, working out the kinks. Yeah, welcome back, guys.
I'm glad to be here.
Thank you.
Kind of coming off of everything opening up after COVID a little bit, finally able to get everybody back in the studio because a lot of the people don't know, but we had a lot of old stuff that we'd re-released, and now we're finally starting to get to recording regularly. But I realized at one point we were releasing like Christmas episodes, like stuff that was recorded over Christmas. Like, oh man, we need to get back to recording.
Or the truth is, Locke gave us a little ransom. We had to pay a fee in order to come back on the podcast. It's this whole thing that he's probably not going to tell you all about, but, I have no problem talking about it.
So, DC, you're not the only one that got blackmailed to be
Exactly.
here?
I mean, if the podcast has taught us everything, everybody's got to kick up. Right? I mean, like, that's kind of the lesson of the show. It's how this thing of ours works.
Exactly.
The black hand was served.
So we'll hit these drinks real quick. You want to kick us off, DC?
Sure. I have a very, very, very high alcohol content Heineken. It's a new Heineken that they brought out. It's like 300% alcohol. No, I have the new non-alcoholic Heineken because I am taking a slight hiatus on drinking, but I'll be back soon enough.
So everybody go ahead and hit us up on Instagram and let us know, is DC less funny when he's sober?
Now the pressure's on.
Bring back the booze.
I appreciate the effort because, like he said he wasn't going to come on with no drinks at all because he's about to bring some water.
Exactly.
But with me being on the show, drinking Gatorade, I think a couple times, I appreciate that. That's interesting.
I try to do what I can.
So Jbone, you brought something that's actually got some alcohol in it today.
Sure, yeah. By New Holland, they've been on the show a ton. It's called The Poet. It's an American oatmeal stout. Fat Dudes oatmeal stouts have been all across this platform, but I haven't tried the New Holland Poet. Have you guys tried it, by the way? I don't know if it's been on the show. Have you tried it?
Yeah, I'm a big fan. The one thing that, as I'm looking at the can, is normally the Poet had a raven on it because it's themed off of Edgar Allan Poe.
Right.
Yeah, so I don't know. That looks like it's a windmill instead of a...
That's what I was looking at.
It definitely is a windmill, but Holland, like the country Holland, is all dikes and windmills. Like this is...
So there is a raven over in the little corner.
Yeah, they changed up the art. It's got all that stuff. Like if you're into the Poe stuff, it's got the crescent moon, and so it's paying homage to all of the different ways that it's got Holland and New Holland, and then the raven. The Poe.
I don't think I've ever had a bad beer from New Holland. I've had some bad beers before, just not from New Holland.
Yeah.
Bugs.
It's imported from Mexico. That's a new one. I don't know if you guys ever heard of it or not. Let me know if you guys have. Modelo Especial.
Never heard of that.
Never heard of it.
It's one of my favorites. Something light.
It's probably our most common of the non-craft variety.
Yes.
I would say.
Yeah.
It'd be the most common that we've had. And honestly, we've had Modelo, we've had Modelo Negro, we've had
I brought a chilada.
Yeah, the chiladas. Yeah. So we've hit the whole Modelo line. Hey, and that's big time. We had a lot of these craft places. I understand, times is tough. Pockets are a little low, but come on, man. Modelo, you guys got money, bro. You got that fucking UFC money. You could throw us at least throw us a tweet or something. We ran through the whole product line.
Right.
All right.
What are you going with, by the way?
Oh, yeah. So I got an Odd Sides, another local brewery, Bean Flicker, which is a blonde ale with coffee. I like Bean Flicker. So most of the time when you get coffee beers, it's a lot of stouts and porters. I didn't know this. Cancer actually taught it to me before, but out of the light beers, your blonde ales is also the other direction you can go for mixing, like chocolate or coffee.
Vanilla, oatmeal.
Yeah, any of those kind of things you want to go with, you could do that with a blonde ale too. So it's a coffee blonde ale, and I like it because I like the coffee beers, I like the dark beers, but it kind of gives you that feel or taste
little
But-
crisp, lighter, like
Yeah, but it's easier drinking version than drinking a porter. It is summer, so I have to edit this now because we have a timely reference. It is summer, so yeah, this is like a gives you that dark beer kind of fix without having to have a thick ass fucking glass of tar.
when it's 30 below and it gets dark out at 3:30 p.m. Yeah, we drink motor oil down here in the studio, but
I do want to shout out real quick. I was out to eat with a friend yesterday, actually. It was a fancier restaurant. They had like wines, and I don't know. I didn't looking at them. I'm like, I don't know what to get. So I ended up getting a Founder's Porter with my dinner, like a steak dinner with potatoes. And I was like, Founder's Porter. And I was just sitting there. I was like, yeah, Locke would be proud right now. There you go.
Nice. Every time I'm learning more and more about different beer stuff, like what combinations or where you can find certain flavors you like, but more in a lighter, crisper beer, or stuff like that. This podcast, I learned a lot. So thank you.
we try.
Well, look, we got a lot of listeners out there in Malta that need to hear us babble about Michigan beers for 8 minutes every fucking week. Like always, we got to make sure we thank Sixfo Sueno for letting us use the music in the intro. We got to thank Cancer for letting us use his music in the mid-roll. So you can follow them on Instagram. It's Sixfo Sueno. It's FOE. And then Cancer. It's Cancer the God. The E is a 3. But yeah, go follow them on Instagram. Support local businesses, support local artists. We'll go ahead and get started. And the bad guy we're covering today is Marion Columbus Hedgepeth.
This ain't negotiation time. This is Scarface, final scene, fucking bazookas under each arm. Say hello to my little friend.
Now that is a name. I need at least 3 aliases for that one.
I think I got you. Actually.
Is this gentleman a Jewish gentleman?
Nope.
No.
Marion Hedgepeth.
The Handsome Bandit.
The Debonair Bandit.
And the Derby Kid. Okay.
All right.
I like the Debonair one, Swab, Debonair, Bandit.
And the Derby Kid, is this like 1920s-ish? I'm just guessing off of nicknames.
He'll
the
rob
time
you,
frame.
but he's going to wipe the gun off with his handkerchief first.
I talk about a lot on the podcast is there's always, when I start doing research, there's always one odd thing, that catches my attention that makes me decide if someone's getting covered or not. It's never what it should be. And in this one, it was 100% the Debonair Bandit. Like, I didn't get past that. Like, I see Marion Hedgepeth, the Debonair Bandit, and we're like, yep, that's say hello to the bad guy material right there.
I like that one.
If we could have called him the Dapper Don, it would have been complete.
We'll also say this before we get started. We're going to say this is based on a true story. So his information is really hard to get. And a lot of it, there's some inconsistencies. So I did the best job of multi-sourcing what I could and coming up with what seemed like the most accurate, but also it's the version I like. So it's what we're going with. Put it this way. I have 2 different birth dates for him that are 9 years apart.
Sweet.
Exactly.
So that's how iffy it is. It's not like one's in August and one's in May. No. One's in 1956, one's in 1864. That's 2 very odd specific numbers that are fucking way off and shit.
Yeah.
So just I'm saying if you're listening and you got some different information, I know there's the the Forgotten Bandit book. I've seen it all. So if I'm not going with what you've heard, it doesn't mean I didn't read what you read. I'm just saying this seemed like the version that was most easy to multi-source.
I mean, well, we know he was born in the 1800s, give or take 100 years.
Yes.
So as long as we know that, everything else is fine.
Yeah, basically, this is a true story. I mean, maybe, but.
Exactly.
It's like Young Guns when Billy the Kid's by the side of the road and a car drives by. Like he's telling this story. Like, all right, dude, what era do you come from?
So Marion Hedgepeth was born April 14th, 1856 in Prairie Home, Missouri. Both his parents were poor farmers, and Marion hated farm life. His first run-in with the law occurred at 15 when he was arrested for robbing a local general store, and he opted to run away and just said, fuck this place, fuck this farm, fuck these cops, I'm running away, and just basically ran off into the West to go find work as a cowboy at 15.
One of those things that you almost take for granted. Nowadays, people can't do anything. We know, of course, coming out of the pandemic, when all the stores had shortages and everything, we were, just short of a countrywide riot. And literally you have 15-year-olds back in the 1800s that run away to different states, right? Do you know how good you have to know the land, how to live on the land?
Oh, there's no highway signs.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, go left. Wait, my GPS is acting like
Exactly.
You know, you can't have a little like a little compact freezer with you in your car. Like literally, they're running away to another state. It amazes me.
When your car breaks down, I mean, your horse throws a shoe. Like now I'm walking a couple states.
In 1850s Missouri, running away, you could die.
Yes.
There wasn't even a railroad yet connecting all the way out there. Like shit.
It's literally called the Wild West. You're a fucking child. But then again, he's 15, so is he a child? I mean, I don't know. It's time to go.
Back in those days, yeah, that's probably.
Well,
that's
you're going through
age.
native territories, like hostile tribes. Yeah. You're going through, you know, regular other cowboys that are trying to set up the Wild West.
Yeah. And even just living off the land itself, being able to eat. I'm pretty sure you're not getting a kill every day. So knowing what plants you can and can't eat, how to get water, how to make sure it's, you know, you're not getting bad water, you know.
Modern conveniences like, too. When we hunt, you go to Gander Mountain, get some ammo, and you got clips and if he had a gun, you got a one-shot muzzle loading, like, you know, black powdered boy, like, oh man.
I imagine if a gun.
You miss a shot, the buffalo scatter, like, well, hope I eat next week.
Not a lot is known of his life over the next 5 years. He spends his time doing a cowboy, which it seems like every one of these Western fucking outlaws just at some point goes and learns how to be a cowboy first. And
you get good at poker, you get good at shooting.
He quickly developed a skill as one of the fastest quick draw artists in the West. And he would spend some time traveling from town to town as a gun for hire. So now that's another thing, another reason I want to cover him. You know, you hear a lot of these guys. You know, we always assume all these Western guys are quick draw artists. But when you start covering these guys, a lot of these guys didn't even, like, they carried 6-shooters, but, you know, their go-to weapon was a shotgun or a Winchester or something like that. A lot of people consider him the fastest quick draw artist that nobody's ever heard of.
There's always people like, oh, he's the fastest quick draw in the West, all this. All right, so it's like how every movie that comes out is the #1 movie in America. Like, all right, I get it.
Well, it was #1 on July 21st. Like,
some people that never been able to go to another state, it's just like, yeah, this kid's the best. He's the greatest.
In our town of 23 people, he was the best, hands down.
Well, and there's a lot of #1s because #2 dies.
Yeah.
That's how that game works.
It's true.
You're either the fastest or you're dead.
That's Mafia boss times 10. Like, hey, the next fastest, you'll hear about him in a minute because he's going to kill this guy.
He spends a lot of time traveling town to town as gun for hire. Alan Pinkerton of the Pinkerton Detective Agency, which will come back into the story later, but, you know, they're one of the biggest detective agencies, like kind of the original.
They go after Billy the Kid and some of these people we just mentioned. That specific...
Yeah. So Alan Pinkerton described Marion. He talked about like a time, which is like kind of like his go-to story, where another outlaw had already drawn down on him and had his gun pulled on him, and he was able to draw and shoot him in the heart and kill him with one shot.
Sound like that first guy, you know, maybe he was just trying to scare him, and he probably didn't understand. In the Wild Wild West, you don't scare people. If you draw your weapon, you use it. So for me to already have it drawn and on you, nobody's that fast to just, like, you should already be shot. What are you waiting for?
Right. What E40 teach us? What the fuck you got a gun for if you're going to hesitate?
That's right.
That's like, a very true statement, E40, like thank you.
Tombstone, when he, when Wyatt Earp kept slapping the dude and telling him to pull his gun. It's like, pull it. What did he say? What was the phrase?
He tells him, yank that smoke wagon.
Smoke wagon, that's what it was. I was like, wait a minute.
He says, skin that smoke wagon. That's what he tells him.
Yeah. Listen, I don't know what kind of fear you have to see in a man to let him slap you and then slap you while you have a weapon and he does not. That is some next level fear to have in another man.
Right, because that conversation starts with the guy saying you run your mouth off a lot for a guy that got a gun. He's like, yeah. I don't need a gun. I don't need a gun to smack the shit out of you.
That was a classic scene.
During his time as a cowboy, Marion Hedgepeth would end up having to flee both Colorado and Wyoming on separate occasions, running from murder charges.
Oh, wow.
By the time he was 20 years old, he was a full-time outlaw working with local gangs as a train robber. It was kind of his go-to gig, and he was described as a talented but disinterested student of the art of train robbing.
He's good at it, but he just ain't picking up what I'm laying. But like, man, you got critics like in that life.
You ask, hey, sir, why didn't you enjoy it? It's just not my passion.
It's not my thing.
And over time, he will do like every different type of train robbing. So they would rob trains where they would go on as passengers. And once it's on, they put on their mask and then go rob the place. And they rob the train. And then their guys would run up with the horses and their horse. And they'd jump off the train under the horses. Or they would stop them and do it highwaymen style, where they would fucking just stop the whole fucking train on its own and then rob it from a,
be at a town when it comes to fill up for water. They jump out of a building and
that makes sense. Like if I was great at everything I do, like he's train robbing, he's so good at it. Like there's no more surprises. It's not fun. It's just another thing for him.
Sometimes they would, if they knew there was a spot they could catch them at, the faster riders
head them off at the pass.
Yeah, would head them off and jump on the train and then force the train to stop, and the rest of them would fucking rob it. Like,
it's a tough living,
Well, I like how they referred to it earlier as an art form. Was that what you said?
Yeah.
Well, but like you say, it's a tough life. But when those trains, when all your money on the East Coast is going out to build the West, today, if we got a strong box full of gold, the four of us could split it and we're pretty good today. If you got a strong one good strong box back in the 18 whatever, even if it's 1950, fucking trunk of gold's a trunk of gold. So, and they're not looking at it like from our perspective, like, hey, 3 of those, we each got a that time worth of millions. They're like, yeah, just spend the money at the saloon. Let's just keep robbing. Like, I don't care about the value. I'm not trying to be the richest man in the world. I'm trying to be the greatest fucking train robber.
That's the thing about the fast life, and that hasn't changed
to this day.
Yeah, right. To this day. And it's you live fast, you get fast money, you spend it fast. Nobody's looking at, I just need to do this one lick and then I can retire and not be a criminal anymore. It's like, okay, let's spend that and let's go do another one.
You don't gotta tell me about that fast life. I just seen F9 last night. You know what I'm saying? I'm currently living my life a quarter mile at a time.
Oh yes,
it's all for the family.
Be familiar.
I don't think anybody would have thought that this Fast and Furious series would go on this long, but somehow they just keep making movie after movie after movie. And I mean, I like the earlier ones better. But it's one thing you can always say, they make it exciting. Even if it's all, well, it was even cheesy CG back in the day. But still, even if none of it is real, they still make it exciting.
Well, they're now international spies. They started off stealing DVD VCR combos.
Yes.
And now I've seen them sell a nuclear bomb, a submarine.
Hold on, you're talking about selling nuclear bombs. I seen The Rock steer a nuclear fucking missile. Okay,
ride it like a mechanical bull, like
steer it and throw it at something. Like fuck yeah.
Soon they're gonna be fighting the Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yep,
that's next.
But if we had to count on a person to throw a nuclear missile, I mean, we'd have to go with The Rock, right?
Obvious choice.
If anybody's going to get it done, it's going to be fucking The Rock.
Obvious choice.
So Marion always stood out amongst other Western outlaws. He was described as 6 foot tall and handsome. He had a dark complexion and had wavy, slick back hair. He also didn't dress like a cowboy or outlaw either. So his go-to outfit was he would always wear a spotless white shirt and a blue suit with a bowler hat.
Nice.
And he'd wear them with diamond stick pins and tie pins. He always took pride in his appearance. You know how hard it is to keep a shirt white in the West?
That was the first thing I thought of. I was like, what?
White?
Like, you don't get mud when your horse is riding? Like, how does that make sense?
It's hard to dress like a pimp in a velvet blue suit now in modern times. Riding around on a horse, jumping off trains and shit. Like, and he's got little diamond pins in the suit. Like, come on, Iceberg Slim. Come the fuck on.
He had like a little poncho right before he went and robbed the train. He'd go throw on or something.
Some of his early wanted posters described him as easy to spot because he would be one of the only people wearing fine, well-polished dress shoes.
To ride a horse, to knock over a train, that's hilarious.
Hey, look at everybody's shitty shoes.
Yeah.
Here comes Marion in some gator fucking cowboy boots. Holy shit.
Well,
that's him.
That's why he was quick at drawing, because he walks in and there's some like drunk missing a tooth with the clothes he's been wearing for a month, decides to run his mouth, and Marion just bah real quick.
At least we know now why he's not interested also. It's like every time he went out, like you said, the shirt, he's like, man, every time we do these trains, I get dirty. I got to go 6 towns over to find a lady to clean everything. That has to be a tough life, man. polished shoes. You know how hard it is to keep polished shoes? Riding a horse in the West?
Dude, it's hard to work a sales gig in Detroit with fucking keep the shoes polished. So yeah, the fucking Wild West with dirt roads, that's fucking impossible, man.
We're in modern day air conditioning and shit. You're riding a horse in your velvet suit and your bowler hat and your diamond pins.
Very debonair.
Exactly.
So people described his appearance of that of a European businessman as opposed to a Missouri gunman. So most people would just assume he was from Europe when he came to town, just because we're like, well, that's not what people from the West look like. So this guy's got to be from Europe.
Fuck, here comes Anheuser-Busch gonna rob my fucking train again. God damn it.
He was also popular with women and was a true ladies' man. But he loved ladies and ladies loved him. The difference in a lot of guys we covered, though, he was like a real ladies' man. A romantic, like he was like a chivalrous guy, and it was in the West, so people didn't do that.
He'd hold the stagecoach door open for his woman, you know what I mean? Like,
he'd take his velvet suit jacket and put it over a puddle of water so she can step over
rose petals in her little wooden barrel bathtub.
With what he's saying, how they treated women back then, all he had to do was say, "Hey, how are you?" And they're like, "Oh,
he's so nice, so kind.
He didn't just hit me over the head.
Tell me to turn the goddamn butter."
He believed in treating women with respect and appreciation, and women just fucking loved him. It's weird. He's a murderer, a quick draw, and a train robber, but he's a romantic, man. So in November 1883, he was arrested, charged, and convicted of larceny and jailbreaking and sentenced to 7 years in prison, which he would end up doing most of.
Most of? I feel like he has an escape plan or something.
I think he got let out for good looks.
Not good behavior, good looks.
You're way too handsome for this prison, bro.
We got to at least shave 2 years off just for that.
Warden walked by, I was like, oh, hold on. Get this man out of here.
But I'm keeping the suit.
While in prison, he met a guy. His name was Adelbert Birdie Sly. So they did some time together. He ends up getting released on February 16, 1889, and he moves to an area of Kansas City, Missouri known as Seldom Seen. It was called that because any type of law enforcement was seldom seen in the area, and it was a hotbed for outlaw activity.
We call that the East Side.
That was not what I thought the media was going to be.
I thought because it was a remote area, nobody had seen it.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, like a real rural remote.
They got Detroit problems back. Like, you call the cops, you don't see them motherfuckers. Like, what? Back then? Damn.
So yeah, he just kind of camps out in the seldom seen area. He starts just immediately getting back to his outlaw ways.
That's the place to start it up.
Yeah, if the cops are seldom seen.
Well, and you're not afraid of anybody. You're the person that people don't want to see in seldom seen.
Right.
But he ends up catching up. He meets his old prison buddy, Birdie Sly, and he's running what they called the Sly Wilson Gang, which it's a 4-man gang consisting of Marion, Birdie Sly, Illinois Jimmy Francis, and Dink Wilson.
Old Dink.
Debonair and Dink back together again.
I just really wanted to list them all because I really liked all the nicknames in their gang. Little Jimmy Francis. Fuck yeah.
Birdie Sly? Like, that's a pretty good name.
Only one slack in there is Illinois Pete. Like, what the fuck, dude? Come on.
I love the fact that you can
watch
just
him be from, like, Texas or something.
Get 4 people together and that's a gang now. So, yes, it's 4 of us, man. It's a gang.
We put 2 tag teams together. Now we got a gang.
Well, at that time, were you going to be the one to be like, no, you're not a gang? No.
Absolutely not.
Right.
No.
Because the cops ain't coming.
Right.
Well, they will, but seldomly.
Seldom.
Every other Tuesday.
The Sly Wilson Gang, they're a notorious gang of highwaymen and safe blowers. They rob people on the street, so they'll rob stagecoaches, which is another alternative, means of transportation to move your shit across.
It's a train pulled by a different horsepower.
Right, and everything's secured with safes.
The strong box was still there, filled with all the... Because in the you couldn't wire or have your shit sent out there. You traveled with it. That's why your stagecoach would have the driver that drove and then the guy with the rifle. But when you got the 4 badasses coming, that rifle guy probably got taken out quick.
He's like, oh, fuck, man.
Or just when you see the blue suit coming at you, like, oh, man, that's fucking Sapphire Don. Like, here we go. Just drop my gun.
Marion starts rolling with them, and yeah, they kind of do their highwaymen thing, and they're blowing up safes and shit. And he's like, you know what you can make a lot of money doing? Train robberies. And he's like this super likable guy, and Andy's pretty good at it. So like, fuck it, we'll do some train robberies. And he gets in tight with the gang. He marries Bertie Sly's sister Maggie, and within a year, the papers begin calling the gang the Hedgepeth Four.
That's a terrible name.
Yeah,
all those
all those great nicknames, and that's what the papers came up for the name of the gang.
Hedgepeth Four.
Yeah, it's terrible.
So you got the Hedgepeth Four and Maggie, and they're just out kind of running around. They become this feared gang of, train robbers in the area. One time they hit 3 trains in 1 week, but one of those times they robbed a train for $1,000.
They just sent Marion to bingo. Like, go ahead, you keep this one.
But then they got on a roll and they started hitting some big licks. On November 30th, 1890, they robbed a San Francisco express train. It's the St. Louis-San Francisco Railway. Some people call it the Frisco Express, but it was one of the huge stop-offs because St. Louis is right in the Midwest, and from there they're moving it straight to San Francisco and we're building the fucking West Coast. So it was like this major railway. And it was famous for being hit by the James Gang, and it was one of their big licks like 10 years later. So the Hedgepeth Four, they robbed the San Francisco Express train. What they did was Hedgepeth and another gang member hit on the train when it left the station. They climbed to the top and then over the coal burner and then jumped into the engine with the engineer and made them pull the train over. And then once the train was pulled over, they let the rest of the gang on and they were able to just hold everybody hostage. And they pulled out this whole big safe, and they were safe crackers anyways. They blew up the safe with a stick of dynamite that blew off the whole side of the train.
How do you do that? And was it just gold bars in there, like no notes? Because I always think when you burn up all the notes...
Prior to paper money.
Okay.
All coin.
Okay. There we go.
The explosion hurt a railroad employee pretty bad, and they took all their money and bounced out. And they ended up getting away with $40,000.
Ooh-wee.
That time, probably like what we would think of as $800,000 or some shit. Like
a lot of money.
$1.2 million.
We're
Sweet.
rich.
With that much money missing and the expensive damage to the trains and railroad employees, the railroads was big business. So they hired the Pinkerton agency, who was the best at the time, and they had an infinite supply of money. So they hired the Pinkertons, who committed their whole agency and relentlessly tracked them down for the next several years.
They were like the FBI of that time. Like that was basically getting the feds involved.
But I mean, the Pinkerton agency to this day is still a big thing. But like detectives weren't even a thing. Like detectives are police officers now, but like they've kind of invented detectiving. They're like, look for clues and shit. And you say, huh? That's interesting. Never thought of that.
We just run over there. If we don't see them running away, they got away with it. Like, well, that's not a plan.
Well, how are you a police officer? Well, see, I got this shotgun, right?
And this here tin badge that these guys in the bar gave me.
All right, what we're going to do, we're going to take a quick smoke break, refill our drinks, and we'll be back in a minute.
Shackles to break out of. They cower solo but mob them and they crowd us. Spilling in the street with heat like hot lava. Pop bottles, molotovs tossed and rocks follow. Ominous disciples like vipers, they strike quickly. Come at me like an army, I'm tearing you down with me. Spit like a baron, rulers of bread like Kaiser. Roll with the goal and get beaten like outsiders. These amateur animals swing in the wrong jungle. Climbing the wrong vines mean these lions will snuff you. Concrete wilderness building our own structures. Writing our own order, appointing our own judges. Overthrowing authority, morally lack conscience. Fighting for survival with rivals with throat punches. Monitor the area carrying curved swords. Slither in the eyes when they murder me. It's almost time to run, put on your army helmets now. You're running toward the sun with all your guns, defenses down. Flashes everywhere, the lights create an atmosphere. Water in your lungs, you pray for death, but life is here. You're about to die, face it, you're about to die. Zero sand in your glass, fuck it, you can't even cry. Put a dagger to your neck, just to keep yourself in check. Put a dagger to your neck, just to keep yourself in check. Everybody grab a side as you fight to stay alive. Dancing on a hand grenade so you can die and they survive. Silver bullets in the sky, dropping 7-second death. Scattering the children, run until there's nothing left. Ashes in the water, sons and daughters hold their flags up high. Wallow in the harbor as the military tanks arrive. Penetrate the border with disorder like an animal. Every war has the honor of turning kings into cannibals. Cannibal kids wanna be king. 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 Cannibal kids wanna be king.
All right, we're back.
What it do, y'all?
All right, so I got us a shot to try. It's not a sipper, it's a shot. So I don't know. You guys just want to do cheers
Salute.
and do a shot?
Cheers, fellas.
A little bit of a caramel vanilla, like a sweet. Is it a candy flavor, something or another?
Kinda.
Bugs isn't feeling it.
It's not. It's
I was expecting, to be honest, I didn't make a face for like a taste. It was a surprise, like, oh, it's real. It was more candy to me than I was expecting. Hard, like it looked like whiskey.
I was still
Laco explained what it
trying to
is.
figure out
but
the flavor.
Yeah.
I just got done eating cheese.
I got
popcorn.
vanilla or like a English toffee type deal.
So
Not bad though.
So what it is, it's Dana White's new whiskey, the Howlerhead whiskey, which is a banana whiskey.
Banana, that's what it. Okay.
As soon as he said it, yep.
But then it's mixed with Screwball peanut butter whiskey. So it's called a Fat Elvis. So you could do it as a shot, or you can make it as a cocktail where it comes with like cola too.
I love
Peanut
the
butter
name.
whiskey and banana whiskey together.
Because he
I
like
love the
peanut butter and banana
banana.
sandwiches.
Yeah. Which those are delicious, by the way. Except
Those are so bad for you. They got so much
They're so
lectins and shit that
delicious.
you don't even know about. But
You gotta
like,
get some honey
I
on that
felt
shit,
like I
bro.
could take a shit and die on the toilet drinking this. Like it tastes pretty spot on now that I got the flavors right.
I did not know Dana White had a liquor, by the way.
So I don't know if it's his or maybe it's just like one of his companies, but he promotes it pretty regularly, and the UFC is pushing it. So
I'm sure he stole it from a younger upcoming fighter or something.
it's pretty good to me. It's definitely a mixer because I don't like banana enough to just drink a banana whiskey by itself. Whereas like the Screwball is kind of dangerous because you can just
It's too candy. Like,
Yeah.
oh shit, I drank that much whiskey. I thought I was drinking,
yeah, it's actually whiskey. It's not liqueur. It's actually whiskey.
but it tastes like a melted Reese cup. Like, I just keep drinking them.
Given the what is it, Fat Albert?
Fat Elvis.
Fat Elvis.
hey, it could easily be. I have to get with Bill Cosby for some copyrights, but it could be a Fat Albert.
Yeah, I'm giving the Fat Elvis a 7.4.
Tell me, Fat Albert, the character, did not like some
7.4.
fucking.
Yeah, 7.4. It was good. Will I drink it again? If it's there, I'm not gonna go make it.
What, a 7.4 out of 10?
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's pretty good.
That's damn good.
Yeah. That's a C. You
Could
can
be in
pass
two-
with C's.
Who you telling? Oh, I know.
Exactly.
I know.
You're preaching to the choir.
Both know.
So when we left off, Marion and the Hedgepeth 4 had hit their biggest lick to date, but now they had the Pinkertons on their ass. And Pinkertons were no joke, and they basically left no stone unturned to track them down. The gang ends up regrouping in Salt Lake City, and they decide that everybody should go in different directions and just kind of shake the Pinkertons off this way. And like, look, we all got plenty of money. Maybe we'll get back together some other day and pull another job. But for now, fuck it. We're out. Let's all bounce.
With my previous knowledge of these stories, I feel like that's not gonna last very long, and they're gonna end up messing this up somehow.
So they all mess it up. Every one of them. On January 23rd, 1892, Illinois Jimmy was killed after a shootout where he killed a policeman in Kansas.
Wow.
Birdie Sly was captured in Los Angeles and sentenced to 23 years in prison. He actually did his 23 years, got out, and fucking died in like 1940. Like never went back to crime and shit. Like did 23 years in prison and came out. I was like, you know what, I'm done with.
Well, that really does resonate with that Billy the Kid, like from that story, like. Shit.
Yeah, 1940s. You were fucking robbing trains and shit.
You were robbing trains, and then when you passed away, we were in the era of people hanging off the side of cars with Tommy guns robbing banks. Like, you got to see it evolve into that.
Well, by the time you got out of prison, you see that, you're like, yeah, I don't know. I guess it evolved.
Whole new world.
These kids wouldn't have made it in the 1860s, I'll tell you that right now.
He's not a sly guy anymore.
Let's see. Dink Wilson was arrested in Syracuse, New York after killing a policeman. He was convicted of the murder and executed in 1894.
Now, he really tried to get away, huh? All the way in New York?
He came back to the East Coast because one in Utah, one in Cali. Like, most of those guys stayed out that way, it seemed like.
Old Dink.
Yeah, so they all got busted. Marion kind of fucked up because he didn't want to leave without his wife, so he had to ship her to San Francisco where he was trying to go, but he had to make sure, he kept in communication and sent her fucking notes and stuff like that. So eventually her lawyer, who was like an alcoholic, fucked up something and ended up getting wid to the Pinkertons, and they found out where he was at, and they had back-to-back rooms, and they went to the wrong room and arrested her. So he's like, oh, wait, I'm here, man. My bad. Let the wife go.
Well, he really did care about women to go to that far.
Could you really have an alcoholic back in those days? That's like,
yeah.
You hear about
you poured it on your cornflakes in the morning for kids.
Exactly.
Like,
it's like stories in other countries where you hear about, like, in the morning, like with breakfast, like wine is a part of breakfast and everything like that. Like, you can't be an alcoholic if it's okay to drink all day, every day. Right. Or you have to be...
It's just living.
You have to drink so much. Like, how much do you have to drink to separate you from everybody else that's drinking all day?
Back in the day, they walk into a room, they just pull them a 2-finger fucking snort, like some whiskey and shit, just pound that bitch neat. Like we
But that's brushing their teeth. That's to go out in the morning at 5 a.m. I wake up at 5 in the morning. One of you fucks burp some whiskey on me, I'm punching you.
So Marion was tracked down to San Francisco. On February 10th, 1892, he was arrested without incident. He was returned to Missouri to stand trial, and in 1893, he was sentenced to 25 years.
Damn. 2 of them got killed for fucking with cops. Like, these stories always end. Even back then, you fucking kill a cop, you get it. The one dude got actually executed. But him, it seems like he got the raw deal on the sentencing because for back then, 23 years, the life expectancy, that's a life sentence back then.
Yeah. Well, he got 25 and the other dude got 23. So, yeah, obviously, based upon what they had did, it was serious enough where they're like, no. And plus, you know how it is. You live long enough. There's so many new laws that come into play specifically for people that are either repeat offenders or people that's
some of those
really hard to prosecute where it's a new law. Now you're getting 25.
This guy in the gator cowboy boots and blue suit, putting it in their face for that long, maybe he's a reason for let's make an example of him. Now because then you come up in the 1900s, then you're public enemy number 1, all those guys.
So while he was in prison, he was a temporary cellmate of a man. It was a con artist who was in on fraud charges named H.M. Howard. And the two hit it off. And so Marion was like a real, what you were talking about earlier, he was that criminal that caught the eye of all the ladies. So they were sending like flowers to the prison and he decorated his cell with them and shit. And this guy fucking H.M. Howard is like, damn, this guy's cool and he's tall and he's handsome and he's a fucking killer and shit. Like, I don't like him.
Flowers too?
Or steal his identity.
Right. Well, no, I'm thinking when we get out together, I'm going to the steakhouse with him because he's bringing some hoes around. You know what I'm saying? Like, shit.
I'll be your wingman, bro. I'm pretty slick. I'm a fucking fraudster. So, I mean, they hit it off and Howard kind of fucking looks up to him and he's like, I got the scheme coming in I think I could do that I could bring you in on because I'm about to get out of here. And Marion's kind of like, I don't know. I'm kind of in prison for the rest of my life. I don't know if I need in on a scheme right now. So there's a couple different versions of what actually happened here, but I'm going with the version that I like better. But I'll touch on the other one later.
Mm-hmm.
So Marion's not too interested in working with him, and his guy, to win him over, he's like, dude, they don't even know who they got. Like, this name they got me booked under, this is a fake name. And what I did, that's like the tip of the iceberg. I've been killing ladies for like a decade, and I steal the fucking life insurance. and just make baller money. So like I got these fucking crazy schemes, man, that like I'm the big time.
So he's
and they don't
Now
even know.
telling
He's a
this to a
serial killer
notorious
and-
lady lover, he might be like, I'm gonna stab this dude in the goddamn throat.
But here's the thing: is he said to win him over. This is what he told him. But like, bro, don't you love ladies? Like, yeah, it's
Listen,
weird.
a serial killer. This probably isn't gonna. Somehow I don't see them meshing well.
Well, because my guy here, our story guy, doesn't sound like he'd be friends with the American Jack the Ripper. We're
Right.
gonna find out here how he goes, but like
Yeah.
it's interesting.
And I
right
just
here.
like how, HM, whatever, he's a con fraud artist, all this. Well, no, it
Well,
turns
you're a
out you're a
murderer.
serial
I'm a
killer.
serial killer.
It's a little dark for me, Locke.
Yeah, so he tells him this, and fucking Marion's like, dude, you're just killing ladies? I let people even pull their guns out before I shoot them.
I'm in prison because I gave up I took my lady's spot. Like I could have got away with what I did. So that's where we differ.
HM gets out, like he said, and Marion's kind of like, man, fuck this guy. So he goes to the prison authorities, he snitches on them.
Mhm.
He's like, hey, you should look at this guy, man. He's into some shit, and he's got the scheme he's about to set up. His testimony directly leads to a lengthy investigation, which eventually uncovers that H.M. Howard was actually the man that we now know as H.H. Holmes, who's sometimes referred to as America's first serial killer. And he's responsible for the death for as many as like 34 to 200 women in a building that he specially designed with tunnels that he called his murder castle.
Wow.
So he was the first Saw type move where he
Yeah.
had
The
rooms
real
and-
American
and-
Jack the Ripper.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, so Marion's like, yeah, fuck this guy, man. I don't like him. And he goes and tells on him, so they start looking into him, and they're like, hey, this guy's not, like, hey, he's got, like, a dungeon underneath his fucking castle that he
Crazy.
built. And then, so not only would he kill all these people, he'd fucking, like, steal their life insurance and shit like that. And that's actually what ultimately got him caught up, was once they got on his trail, like, all this paperwork for all his little cons and his, different actions and all these different names came out.
But they didn't even know. They only got on his trail because of the good work of our boy. So
Yeah, who could have just said, oh, damn, you are a real gangster. I guess I could use a little scheme. Little money goes a long way in prison. I'm down. Now, as they go into this investigation, they're like, holy shit, like, we really found something here. Like, this is, like, the fucking real deal. And he eventually gets caught, goes to prison, and is executed for his crimes and shit like that. But Marion, at the same time, while in prison, he contracts tuberculosis, and he becomes real sick. And between his bad health, his testimony, his good behavior,
they cut him loose.
well, they give him up for parole, and he was real skinny. He had like sunken features. He's like thin and gray hair. Like they said, he looked like 30 years older. Like he was getting older, but he went into prison as a big handsome man.
He aged super fast.
Yeah, and he was just like, they said he was like hard to look at. Like he was just a skinny, sick, frail man. So they brought him up for parole, and they're like, well, look, we're thinking about letting you out. You've been a model prisoner. You helped us catch this terrible human, and you're clearly all sick. And he's like, yeah, I'm fucking done with a criminal life. I just want to.
Do I look like I could rob a goddamn train right now?
Yeah, I'm done. In 1907, they release him for prison on parole.
And then his wife nurses him back to health. He meets up with Doc Holliday. They form a new gang, the Tuberculosis Gang.
I like this story a lot better.
That's the story.
I like this. 2 quick draws?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Later that same year, 1907, he gets arrested and found guilty of robbing a storage house in Council Bluffs, Iowa. He just didn't really know what else to do. So he just went and fucking I don't know. Just go rob this place. But it's 1907, and you know what I mean? You can't jump on your horse and run away or no shit like that. So he doesn't really know how to do, and he's this old sick man. So they catch him, and they put him in prison. And they put him in prison, and he was so sick that they fucking released him again in 1908. They're like, dude, just
go lay down.
Well, you
please.
almost
Don't get out of
wonder if it's so hard on the street when he gets out, if it's one of those Shawshank things, like, man, I just need the place to sleep and the food. Like, let me rob. I want to get caught at this general store. But then you fucks think you're helping me out. You let me out again. I'm going to go kick a fucking cop in the shin because I need the bed, I
don't know what to do, man.
I just want to come die here in prison.
So they released him in prison in 1908. All he had was a blue suit. It was his original blue suit, but he didn't fit in.
It was way too big.
So he's just a little old man in his blue suit. He found a loaded gun, and he moved to Chicago. And he gets to Chicago. He just got his suit and a gun. And he's desperate for money. But when we got to Chicago, he's like, everybody looks rich and everybody looks soft. Like, this is easy fucking pickings.
Not taking into account he's ebony and all. Like, he's a skinny little frail,
old man.
Yes.
Yeah. And it's Chicago on Christmas Eve in 1909, which At that point, Big Jim Colosimo would now be starting to build his empire, like in the levee on that side of Chicago. So this isn't, Wild West Missouri in 1800s no more. But he just thinks everybody seems like they look like pussies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the thing. So much depends on what your ideology of a tough guy is, right? It's no different than, of course, I can't get through a podcast without making some type of MMA or jiu-jitsu reference, but it's like,
It's what you do.
Exactly. It's like, we talk about a lot of times you go to something like that and it's the little nerdy guy that looks like he wants to fix your computer. He's probably the baddest guy in that gym that's going to choke you unconscious. But at first look, you would look like, oh, I would slap that guy. And it's like, you're probably biting off more than you can chew, but I'll sit back and watch it anyway.
Yeah, let's see how this plays
Your
itself
arm's
out.
hanging off, and you're like, oh.
Exactly.
Well, what I think is funny is he should have took a note from his own book. You walked in, the tall, handsome, European-looking dude, and everybody wants to mess with him, and you're a quick draw. Boom, dead.
True.
Like, yo, this dude looks soft. I'm gonna fuck with him. Well, no. Like, it's Chicago. There's gangsters out here. Be careful.
Everybody dresses nice now.
So Christmas Eve 1909, he walks into a saloon and held up everyone in it. The problem is he's all by himself, and he's just trying to stick up this whole fucking group, and he's like robbing them one at a time and shit.
They all have guns.
Well, at one point he turns his back to the door, and in Chicago, so there's just people all over. So a policeman just walks in, and he pulls a gun on him. He's like, "Hey, what are you doing, dude? Why are you
Old
robbing
man, what do you give that guy his watch back? You're lucky he didn't shoot you.
Marion whirled on him, fired off 2 shots. One went through the officer's coat, but he missed both times. And the officer shot him twice. Once in the chest and once in the head. And Marion died on the spot on the saloon floor.
Wow.
Even had that officer on site not hit him since he shot at a cop. It never fails. He would have been dead soon in this story. So
He was thinking, watch, I got this. Oh, do you think because you got a gun on me, you don't know how good I am? Oh, shit, I'm a sick old man. Blah, blah, blah.
Well, he was still quick. He just lost his accuracy.
I appreciate the effort. I appreciate it.
Well, kind of like you said, maybe that's the whole game plan. Like, I don't know. Either I'm going to get everybody's watches or I'm going to get shot right here tonight. I don't know.
But something's changing tonight. I can't go on like this.
Yeah, so Christmas Eve 1909, he was shot to death on the floor of a saloon. He was buried in the Cook County Potter's Grave, which is a lot of just where they put all the poor people and unnamed people.
Boot Hill, like John Doe's go there. Like,
yeah. He was buried in Potter's Grave in his blue suit.
In the blue suit.
that blue suit has been with us since 1840. Whenever he was 15 and left the farm, this blue suit has been prevalent.
That's the story of Marion Hedgepeth, the handsome bandit.
So say good night to the bad guy. Go on. The last time you're gonna see a bad guy like this again, let me tell you.
Now, that's one nickname that he should have gotten, and I don't know why he didn't. The Blue Suit Bandit.
Yes.
That would have been a great addition.
All right. So now you guys haven't seen a picture, but if we were going to cast a movie about Marion Hedgepeth, who would you cast to play him?
I'm going to jump out here first because I've been thinking about this one, and it's not a fighter or any. It's an actual actor.
So you're like, I got to say it before someone gets a turn and they say it first? I actually know an actor this time?
Yes.
Fuck that.
Because they all think I'm going to say Ben Askren, but I'm not.
Hey, that was a young Liam Neeson.
Young Liam Neeson?
Yeah. When I hear the description of him, I can picture a Liam Neeson in a blue suit and, them thinking he's, some guy from Europe that's running around robbing
I've got a
people.
particular set of skills.
Exactly.
It's robbing this fucking train.
Robbing trains.
Liam Neeson is actually who they thought Marion Hedgepeth was.
Yes.
You know? Like, oh, he looks like some big, handsome fucking European dude.
Exactly.
I have who I think, I don't know his name. Maybe if I show one of y'all a picture.
I won't know.
Or if you say what he's from, maybe. Or
No, I can't even figure that out.
Okay.
Either. This guy.
Oh, Jon Hamm?
Jon Hamm.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I'll show you all the picture.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mad Men. Right.
Well, I mean, he is the consummate handsome man.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If we're going for that, the dapper, strapping dude. That's the guy.
I'm going to go with someone off of his ilk, Josh Brolin. Just for a big... I think Jon Hamm's a little bit too big.
Yeah, he's a big guy, a burly guy.
So, but like the guy I picked, Josh, is same thing. Pretty little chiseled face, like the slick back hair, but not as wide. You know what I mean?
Right.
Not as
so you were
girthy.
going for the old sick, you know.
No, Josh
I was
Brolin-
thinking, I was looking at the sweet train robbing one.
Me
That's
too.
what-
Josh
that's what I was-
Brolin is the guy that he played Thanos and stuff. He don't look like.
Okay.
So,
Josh Brolin did play Thanos.
Yeah, I can see that.
I mean, no, because nobody's gonna know. Like when even the people at home, like that's not what the dude looked like. I just want to give you like a size reference. Like
Josh
so.
Brolin is the Josh Brolin's the No Country for Old Men guy, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
I apologize. When you were telling your guess, I was figuring out mine. Who'd you say?
Liam Neeson.
Yep, I remember that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So here's pictures of Marion Hedgepeth.
Okay. It's got more of a English look, not like Hugh Grant, but that ilk, like that.
He would shoot you for that.
Yeah, he probably would.
Hugh Grant, I'm definitely Josh Brolin, motherfucker.
Right. I am fucking Thanos.
Damn bowler hat though. You weren't. You rocked those.
That fucking tie though, that Steve Harvey ass knot.
Wow,
It's fucking like
yes,
gigantic.
It is.
But that old Charlie Chaplin hat, that bowler hat, that's sweet.
Here's a picture of
Honestly, was not what I was expecting.
Yeah,
No.
me either.
this is him and his wife, Maggie.
I ain't gonna. She looks better than he does.
Look at that hairstyle.
That's a slick part, bro.
Oh yeah.
You need some pomade to pull that motherfucker off.
Yes.
And then this is old Marion in one of his mugshots.
Oh wow, yeah, he lost a lot of weight.
Yeah,
Look at
that
his
face got sunken in.
That's
I promise I'm not going back to criminal.
Hey, and you see though, he still got on a suit with a fucking bow tie and shit like that. Like, looks a little like frumpier, but he's trying, man.
Through the pictures, they convey that like you see his look never change. You could see almost when you could smell that bar in Chicago where like, hey, like Locke said, I'm just gonna get a bunch of gold watches. I'm dying here, but his mentality never seemed to change. Like he was steady, nice and even throughout this whole from 15 till we get to what he looks like here.
All right. So now we got to do the Defcon scale. Now, standard Defcon scale is 5 to 1, 5 being the lowest, 1 being the highest. But in the Bad Guy podcast,
Nobody's a good guy.
so 5 would be Lee Murray, who's your drug dealing, bank robbing, kidnapper. And then at 1, you got the Purple Gang, who's got multiple gang wars, multiple massacres, and they're killing people on the streets. So on a scale of Lee Murray to the Purple Gang, where would you rate Marion, the Handsome Bandit, Hedgepeth?
I was debating between a 2 and a 3, but I think I want to go with 3. Only because, he's a pretty gangster dude. Imagine he has a lot of bodies, a lot of train robberies, and like even when he's sick and old, he was still jumping in there like, hey, we're going out with a bang. But he had some good in him, I feel like.
Yeah.
He wasn't down with H.H. Holmes. He's like, hey, this dude's bad, man. So even though he snitched, which, he had to do what he had to do, he still had some good in him, but he was also willing to get the job done. So I'm going with a 3 because he's been through a lot, but I kind of like him.
You want to go, DC?
I'll let you take this up.
Okay, I'm gonna go with a 3 as well for some of the same reasons, but like it's already been established that a lot of this stuff is hard to, he didn't grow up in our time, so it's not very easily internet confirmable. Mm-hmm. But in the stories that we know from back when he's 15, when he leaves the farm, when he robs trains and stuff, it's not a lot of, there is killing. Nobody on the show like is innocent. So when he robs trains and shit, it seems to be like he forces them to stop and they obtain the goal. They get the gold, the boxes and stuff. Not a lot of just pulling up to shoot a guy in the head. And then the admiral part of like, he's always been a ladies' man, but not like our typical gangsters that are ladies' man that just like to fuck a lot of different chicks. Where that's admirable what he does for the wife when he could get away, not scot-free. Maybe he just gets caught 2 years later, but they catch her and he has so much compassion for her. And the drunk lawyer fucked it up. Like, hey, I'm here. I'm in the closet. Take me. And then it's really admirable this guy should get a lot more credit because back then that guy that was serial killing, If that nutty fuck was in this time, he'd probably be like more famous than your Son of Sam and your Zodiac Killers and that bullshit, which shit we don't do. But we actually had a real serial killer cross into our gangster world in a alleged gangster, who he was, a train robber and whatnot, turned him in. And very few times where snitching is applicable, like snitches get stitches, they end up dead, all the cliches, which they do, and that's wrong. But like when you go to prison for fucking beating old ladies or children or something like that, a Blood, a Crip, a Aryan Brotherhood, a Black Guerrilla Family, the Muslim Brotherhood, that's one thing that unites and they get stomped. Like, so that compassion gives them a 3. All the train robbing and running with gangs and shit, like when you guys were in that 4-man gang, because you were a 4-man gang and so successful, I'm sure you did some shit that didn't make it in the 1880s newspapers. But like Bugs pointed on, there was good there.
Was seldom seen.
Yeah, exactly. So you get a solid 3 from me for those, like in that, like people at home, like look up that story. That's really cool. Like I didn't know anything about the H.H. Holmes, like how, like he had I heard the name before and I knew he killed some people, but like you had the fuck dungeon and shit. Like this dude broke off. And then back then the technology, the Pinkertons were inventing detectiving investigations criminally. They just let that dude out of prison. He probably would have added 200 more bodies on before their clueless ass got out. So he did a really good thing. And that brings him up to a 3.
I was teetering with it, but he just wasn't a bad guy to me.
No, he really wasn't.
So,
even with bodies, he did what he did. Like,
I'm gonna give him a make sure I'm going in the right direction. 4, right? I don't think he was that bad. I'm all for fair combat, right? Now, yeah, he was a bad guy robbing trains and everything like that. But, you know, as you kind of mentioned, the times kind of, if it wasn't a quote unquote fair fight, the times where there was a body, it was almost like an accident. Like when the safe blew up, accidentally killed somebody, you know, things of that sort. But other than a, you know, fair gunfight, but that's kind of what you did back then. I really don't hear the stories of him going around killing people. Well, in the beginning, he was a murder for hire. Doggone it.
Well,
I might have to bump him up
that
to
quick
a 3.
draw thing too. Like you're fighting against another gunfighter in that.
Well, to be fair, one of the stories, the dude had a gun drawn on him already. So I just imagine him like, look, I don't want to do this. He draws his gun. He's like, all right, now I gotta shoot you.
Hey, I gotta bump him up for the gun for hire. I gotta come to a 3 with you all.
I knew you'd come around. I knew you'd come around.
And it's fucked up as he talked himself into it.
Yeah, I did. But you know, but in general, a lot of the stuff that you all mentioned, you know, especially as time went on, I think he was even doing the gun for hire. I think it was one of the things. He was really, really young. He had this skill of being good with a gun. He had just ran away from home, and it was like, how do I make money? He didn't have the skill of robbing a lot of that stuff yet. Once he got that, you really didn't hear about the gun for hire anymore, right? So I think he shifted over to something that was a little more, you know, and they said he didn't have a passion for it, but it was like, well, I either got to go kill people or I can rob these trains. I'm going to go ahead and rob the trains, right? And as you all mentioned, you know, exactly what, you know, he did for his wife, turning that guy in, all those things, you know, you see that there was compassion behind the man. I do want to throw this in though, because one thing that we always got to remember when you hear the word snitch, snitching is universally bad, but snitching is not the same everywhere, right? And what I mean by that is, so like, even as you watch or, you know, you hear mobsters talk, like, you know, a lot of them have YouTube channels and stuff now where you can hear, if they were telling on somebody else that's not a part of their organization, is not considered snitching, right? The way I understood everything that when I was growing up, it was, if me and you are doing something together and I tell on you, that's snitching. If I just see you doing something, like I just see you hit an old lady over the head and snatch her
and
purse,
you describe me to the law.
That's not snitching, right? So I don't even consider what he did snitching. I consider it very commendable. And to know that, and I'm pretty sure the only reason why the dude mentioned it to him, because like, he's a ladies man. He probably know a lot of ladies that we can kill together. And the Debonair Bandit, he's like, wait a minute, no, I love ladies. What are you talking about? I love them. Yeah.
Well, like Bugs pointed out, he was trying to win him over by saying, hey, I get a lot of bitches too, but I take them in the fuck dungeon and I kill them.
Yeah.
Oh, that's not cool.
I think at some point we'll cover like an episode on snitching, but I think there is there's a significant difference between like some of these guys snitch on their boys, like you said. You do stuff with them and then you get caught and you snitch on all your boys that you did crime with.
That's being a rat.
That's being a rat, right? But now a lot of people want to label anybody that ever, I guess, cooperated or whatever into the snitch category. And if you do that, that's a dicey proposition, because you can go back to like Lucky Luciano, Dion O'Banion, some of these political connections. The point of having those connections was to snitch. So you have cops on your payroll and you tell the payroll, you tell the cops, no, they're over there. Go fucking bust them. That wasn't snitching. You're not telling on your buddies. You're just telling the cops, like, yeah, go smash the competition's fucking business that's over there. So I was leaning towards a 4 because it seemed like low body count, but I do have to, at some point, it becomes like the legal system where you look at precedents. And I do have a precedent of once you become gun for hire, contract for hire, that bumps you up a step because it's a different level of violence. Yeah. And he did walk away from it. But so I was leaning towards a 4. Either way, it wouldn't matter because it'd be like a majority 3 at this point. So I was leaning towards maybe a 4, but I definitely get a 3. That's the problem with going last, is you definitely get influenced by everybody's else's stories as they go. But yeah, I'm comfortable with calling them a majority Defcon 3.
SAC, this is Crystal Palace. Sync-No-Rad has declared Defcon 3. Scramble all alert aircraft. I repeat, scramble all alert aircraft.
Nice.
Before we go, you guys got anything?
No, I'm happy to be back, man. Happy to be back in the studio. A lot of fun as usual. Hopefully everybody wasn't upset for my very high caliber Heineken, 300% alcohol.
I was happy to share a drink with you, man. That's all.
Thank you.
Alcohol and nor alcohol, your presence makes me. I'm there. I'm happy.
I feel it, man. I'm happy to be. Happy for you to be back. I haven't seen you in a minute, so.
Yep.
All right. So this is Say Hello to the Bad Guy. Thanks for coming and thanks for listening.
Deuces.